Make sure everybody got all their paperwork done?
Yeah, we got everybody signed in, signed off on the waiver, registration, disaster service worker forms.
No.
Yep.
Okay, you're working on it.
Almost, working on it. Okay, good, that's good. And we may have some others filling in a little bit. They're getting off work a little bit later than noon today, so that's fine. Excellent. Well, welcome everybody. This is going to be the CERT class. Are you on the right flight? 23 hours long, a few breaks here and there. I'm Linda Nellis. I'm the lead instructor trainer for the Regional Training Institute of Humboldt State Community Disaster Preparedness.
All right.
Quite a mouthful. Basically, what I do is teach the CERT class, Community Emergency Response Team Training. And what we're going to do this weekend is give you a baseline of skills so that you can work together as a community resource and also with each other in your neighborhoods or for work. Or at some point, we hope that we'll actually have teams that can be called upon to go to other communities to help out during disaster once we get to that level of training. So I'm thrilled. David Nye is here, Siskiyou Sheriff's Office, the Neighborhood Watch Program, whom you know already, and will be coordinating the trained members of CERT after this, when your training is complete. And there's some introduction you'd like to give,
Sure.
David? Talk a little bit about the
Swear in
program.
and all that stuff. I mean, swear them in.
Sure, that would be great.
Okay, so just to be on the safe side, everybody has their Humboldt State registration form done?
No.
Okay, you're working on it though, right? Okay, and then the release of liability for Humboldt State, for Regional Training Institute, everybody got that one done?
No.
I know, but you're working on it. Do you have this one done yet?
No. I got this one done now.
Okay, this is the disaster service work one. All you really got to fill out is the bottom part, print your name, sign your name. Of course, today's date is July 12th. The reason we're doing this is what the Disaster Service Worker Volunteer Registration Program, how's that for a mouthful, is all about is if you get hurt, either during training, which we hope not, or when you're responding as a CERT member to a disaster, which, again, like insurance, we hope not to ever have to use it, but if you are hurt, you are covered through workers' comp. Okay, and this is at no cost to you guys. Okay? So, to be able to do that, legally we got to swear you in first, not try to swear you in and fill out the paperwork after the injury. Because then you're falsifying documents and that's a felony, and I'm not going to do that. So if we can have everybody stand up, raise the old hand, I'll swear you guys in. I'm authorized by the boss, the sheriff.
Wait a minute. Can I do it without filling mine out?
Yeah.
And I'll swear you all in.
Felony and all.
All right, now.
What about mine? I'm supposed to sign it later.
It's okay, you can fill it in. I'll just, because I got to sign them all anyways, okay? All right, so this is the hard part. And then state your first and last name. So I,
Christopher McCraw,
good, nobody said first and last name. That's pretty good. Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
will defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
Do I need to cut her down even? Yeah. Okay. That I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to.
and allegiance to
Oh, I lost myself here. The Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of the State of California.
That I take this obligation freely
That I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservations
without any mental reservations
or purpose of evasion.
or purpose of evasion.
That I will well and faithfully
That I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
I certify under penalty of perjury
I am under penalty of perjury
that the foregoing
that the foregoing
is true and correct.
that the foregoing is correct.
Congratulations. All right, so make sure that we get these forms and I can sign them and you guys are all covered. I'm looking forward to having a great 3-day training with you guys. I want to thank everybody for showing up. And when we're done, you're going to tell them about all the goodies they get and all the knowledge right there.
Definitely.
Okay, that's it. We're on. Thank you.
And by filling out all the paperwork also, that provides David and Doreen and Flo the information locally about your training and the fact that you're willing to be contacted if there should be an event where they could use your skills. So all of that's taken care of with the contact release and the waiver that you just signed off when you came in today. So, excellent. Any questions about that process before we begin? Okay, excellent. Everybody's been well informed, and Doreen, we ought to give her a hand for pushing the paperwork. Thank you, Doreen. Excellent, excellent. Well, a little bit of administrative stuff before we get started. You know the restrooms are in the hallway. When you open the door, turn on the light just inside the room. We leave them off just for making sure we don't use up energy we don't need. And fortunately, we're air conditioned in this room today. Tomorrow, I want to remind you, I'll do this several times, to wear long pants, closed-toed shoes, because we will be doing a fire extinguisher skills practice out in the playground area. And we want to make sure everyone's safe and doesn't come away with any type of injury. So just remember that. A little bit later today, I hope you've provided yourself a bag lunch or can run home within a half hour and come back for the supper. And tomorrow, bag lunch for yourself, and we have snacks on the table back here. You're welcome at any time to have water, coffee, tea, water, packaged snacks back on the table for you, and you're free to use those for your lunch as well. So I appreciate everybody being here on time and on time, and I'm looking forward to this training. I am living this as a passion, having done emergency management for almost 30 years now. I worked for the county of Humboldt in OES for 15 and a half years, and then moved on to do my own business and training and also plan writing for special districts and large child care facilities that could not afford a trainer, so I gave them a very reasonable rate because I have a very firm belief that if we don't take care of our kids, we are all going to be worse off, and I really enjoyed that. But I had an opportunity then to work for 11 years for American Red Cross as the community education director. And that really fired up my passion for getting into the classroom and working one-on-one with individuals who could make a difference in their community. I can write all the plans in the world and put them on the shelf, but I want you to know what that says. I want you to be able to come to your community and do the right activity and action, and also be safe. So when CERT training came along, I learned that that was one way that I could go out to the communities and build teams and give people those skills that actually do make a difference and could save a life at some point. So over the course of this weekend, you'll be learning some of those skills. So you've learned a little tiny bit about me, and I'm really curious to know about you, because I haven't been to Happy Camp to a training before, even though I've come through many times on the way to Wairika, on the way to Oregon. I like to take not the shortcut, but the most beautiful drive. And so I'm curious about what you are. So how long have you lived here? And we all know we all live, if you don't live in Happy Camp, where do you live? And any experience within CERT or other emergency preparedness training of this sort. So you want to start over here? Can you introduce yourself?
I'm Rachel Lynn. I've been on the river most of my life. It's kind of wild. Always here at I do have some backwards training for
I've gone this time already, so that says a lot for you right there. Okay, great. Sir?
I'm Russell Scoy, lived here for 30 years, up on Indian Creek. A lot of, some experience in first aid and whatnot with construction, so.
Got some good background skills. Okay, super. Judy?
I'm Judy Bushy, and I came to Happy Camp 42 years ago, and although we were gone for a little bit in between, and live over on Truly Jack Road, and I don't have any previous experience.
But you've survived winters here.
We're from
is-
Minnesota and Wisconsin,
Check
so
that
we got the
out.
winters before that.
Yes, exactly. Christopher?
Yeah, my name's Christopher McCraw. I've lived here this term for the last 3 years. I live up on Elk Creek at the Boren Place. And my previous emergency experience comes from the United States Navy, where I learned firefighting, first aid, CPR. I had all those certifications when I left the Navy in 1997.
Right. And you'll hear me say many times, knowledge is power, because you can do the right action. It doesn't really always go away, even if you haven't practiced those things recently. It's valuable information, and you can always tell other people what to do if you don't have enough hands at the time something does happen. What about Catherine?
Okay, I'm Kathy Meinert. I was born and raised here, but I've been gone for about 43 years. I returned a couple of years ago. My CERT training is with Pierce County and also with the Tacoma Mountaineers.
Great. Excellent. Good. You'll be a good resource for
Oh, yes, yeah.
us. Knowledge, power. How about you?
Let's see, I personally have lived up here 2 years, my husband longer. All of my certifications came from the International Union of Operating Engineers.
Okay.
I have my hazmat and first aid, all that other good garbage. He moved me up here, and there you go.
There you are. And how about you, Chris?
Chris Martin, I lived here for about 5 years. I live right across the street from the high school on Indian Creek Road. And I took a CPR class in 8th grade.
And that, even though some of the CPR classes have changed a little bit, but you could still save a life if you had to.
Kathy, I've been here 7 months. I only took the CPR class.
You might win the award for newcomer too. Anybody else been here less than 7 months? You may get that one.
Dan Effman, I just came back home a couple of years ago, and I spent 72, 77 in the military.
And you are the fire crew leader now?
No, I just take, this year we're taking 15 people to be fire crews.
Oh, okay.
Last
So you're
year-
familiar
last
with the
year was
operation.
10.
We'll get into a little bit of the organization for incident command and how those teams are set up, not only at local level, but the county level and state. We've got to talk about some, where you fit into that structure. Rebecca?
I'm Rebecca Terra, and I've lived here 24 years, and I have experience in CPR, first aid, and I'm just really glad we're here, and I'm really glad that everybody is doing this, and I'm like, this is awesome, you guys. Cheerleading, yay!
Okay, Michael?
I'm Mike Terra, mechanic, been here 24 years. I've done quite a bit of volunteer work on fire departments, EMTs. Let most of that go, so this will be like a refresher.
Okay, good. And mechanic, he's the go-to guy for the equipment.
Fix cars.
There you go. Well, you gotta have cars and trucks to get them to where they need to go, so that's good too. Tara?
Hi, I'm Tara Howard, and I've been in Siskiyou County off and on for 20 years, but I've lived in Happy Camp for 10. I live on Buckhorn. I've lived in the same house for 10 years, and I am renting. That's what I mean.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, okay. How about you, Al?
My name's Alan Bunting. I've lived in Half Camp for 10 years. I've got experience at lifeguard training, basic first aid several times, CPR several times.
And he's a CNA.
I was a CNA for 7 years, and I got experience in a large variety of medical issues.
Excellent. Good to know.
My name's Leslie. I've lived in Half Camp for 19 years now. Lived on Salmon River before that. Don't really have any experience with the CERT before, but I've taken the FEMA test 1, 2, and 7.
Okay, great, good. And that's good background. She's talking about Incident Command System 100, 200, 700 are course numbers for classes about the Incident Command System and how it works nationally. So those are also excellent trainings, and they're online, I believe, all of them now. So available to you if you want to further. And I do recommend that you do that because at some point in time, you'll be involved not only at the local level, but probably county and state level with incident command issues. And Dave is writing that down. Good. And now she's got her mouth full. I call on her.
I'm Dusty Busby. I'm born and raised in Syad for 27 years. I just moved to Happy Camp this year, and I just completed my EMT class.
Excellent. You'll be a good medical resource then, too. The teams are set up so that we have a team meeting. We talk about folks who know how to fight fire, and we'll teach you that basic skill. Then there's some medical skills in this course that are very basic about head-to-toe assessment, how to set up a medical treatment area. We don't do CPR because we're talking about multi-casualty incidents where you triage and get them to a treatment area where then you could do CPR if you had enough personnel to do it. And then we do a light search and rescue. We want you to be safe, but we do a light search and rescue, meaning that if the building's safe to go in, you can search, find victims, triage them, and then transport them to a treatment area where they could be worked on. So those are some of the components that you'll be dealing with. And all of these skills so far are working toward that team attitude of we can get this done because we have the people, the skills, and the knowledge to do that. So Justin, how about you?
I'm Justin Smith.
Sorry, I forgot Mr. Nye here. Mr. Siskiyou, yay.
David and I, I've been up for about 9 years now. Retired out of the San Francisco Bay Area. 43 years of police experience, which included a lot of what we're going to be covering in CERT. Right? Thanks.
I'm Justin Smith. I've lived here my entire life. I was born in Wairika. I'm 17 right now. I will be 18 in 10 days. My family is mostly EMS, and EMT, and firefighters. I took a CPR class in 8th grade, and that's about it.
Are you going to be a firefighter too?
Oh, yeah.
It's okay. We need other skills in this world too. Excellent. David.
I am David Paschal and lived here for about 19 years or something. I'm not sure. A long time. And I live up Indian Creek on Pine Place. And I have taken 2 CPR and first aid and AED classes. And I have worked for the Forest Service and taken forest safety and forest cleanup and I think even fire safety courses.
Important things to have in this area too, definitely. Excellent, thank you. Aaron?
Hello, I'm Aaron Martin. Most of you probably know me from the store. I am 23 years old. I don't really have any previous experience in anything like this, and I thought it'd be a good idea to get this kind of training because I do a lot of stuff with motorcycles and races and stuff that we have here in town. I've seen some people get hurt, so it'd be good if I had these kind of skills on the scene just in case if something bad were to happen.
Thank you.
My name is Eric Paul. I've lived here 3.5 years now, just down in the Meadows. And my previous experience is limited to some rudimentary first aid, and then I have also taken the FEMA Incident Command training as well.
Excellent. we have a really nice mix of skills here today. I'm really pleased at how many things and the variety are going to be useful, I think, for not only your community, but as a team, too. Because, you know, I think if something happened today, could pull together and maybe set up sheltering, good information, check on folks' well-being calls. We could take care of one another, couldn't we? And of course, with my supply kit, we're set. So we definitely could. Well, I appreciate that knowledge. I am really pleased because I think that we're going to be able to tie all these things together and give you additional skills and knowledge, too, that will help you round out your own abilities. And I'm real pleased to have that ability and availability. So today, we're going to do the overview. And what I'll be talking about, this is your longest day in the seat. I'll put it bluntly. We're going to be sitting a lot today, unfortunately, listening to Linda talk. But tomorrow, we have additional instructors who are ex-fire chief and current fire chief for Hayport coming to talk with you about fire extinguisher skills. And then Flo Lopez and Lynn Corliss, who you may know from Wairika and Cincinnati County, will be here working on the medical modules for us tomorrow afternoon. Sunday, we're going to do Module 5, which is let me get to this for Sunday. We'll be doing Module 5, which is the light search and rescue, how to be safe, work together as a team to do searching, how to bring folks out, to bring them to the medical treatment area, how to set that up. We'll be talking about the incident command system, Module 6, how the entire CERT organization fits in to the county level and state and federal level incident command system for large incidents. Some disaster psychology, which you will probably have already used and don't even know it. How to support folks who had a major trauma, but more importantly, how to watch out for each other, watch each other's backs, and take care of one another after a major event. We already know about deaths in families, community event where someone was injured or killed, wildland fire, stress, those kinds of things. And then I heard from Doreen about the winter warming station. How long ago was that? 2 years ago? 2 winters?
Just December.
So that's fresh in everybody's mind. What do you do if you have no power? And how do you support one another? How do you take care of frail elders? How do you look out for people who may not be able to care for themselves effectively? So those kinds of skills, you already know how to do a lot of that just from living in an isolated community. But we hope to be able to wrap that all together and also give you some additional skills on working on the psychological trauma that happens no matter what. Because unless you've been through an event of that sort, you really don't know how you're going to react. You as a human being have some basic fight or flight type feelings, but how do you deal with those? What do you do with those? So we'll talk a little bit about that too. And then Module 9 is our drill. We do a little bit of I call it the test, but it's open book and it's group work, so don't be afraid. There's no written test thing. It is in writing, but everybody's looking at everybody's papers. That's my favorite kind of test. So it'll be an easy one. And then we'll have you suit up. We've got everybody will have a backpack, dust mask, knee pads, hat, hard hat, and a vest, reflective vest. And we have gloves that are sized, so you'll get gloves and a flashlight as well. And I didn't put those up there in our equipment trailer that's coming later today. But we want to make you a team, and we want to give you the basic equipment to get started. So you will have all of that by the time you walk out for the drill. I'm going to teach a module called Terrorism Awareness this afternoon after, probably a little before and a little bit after our supper. And most of that is basic information. We've had so many events, so much has been in the news recently, that I don't try to belabor the fact, but I want to give you some information and some tools to take with you. And some of that is video, so it's a little more interesting than just watching Linda talk. But that also is included as part of your basics. So let's get right to it and talk about Basic Unit 1. In front of you, you have on your table, I want to make sure everybody has everything. You've got an evaluation form, which is the most important thing to me right this minute, because I want you to put the location, which is Happy Camp and today's date, And if you will, each day go through and judge your instructors. That would be wonderful for each module. They're all listed out here for module 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that helps us improve our course. And I do take these seriously. I really do. I've been able to make some great improvements based on the suggestions of the people taking this class. You don't have to sign it. You can be very critical and you can be very informative. You can give compliments if you wish. And I appreciate that. We select them at the end of the day on Sunday. You also should have in front of you the biography of your instructors. It's a sheet that has all of the instructors in alphabetical order. So you can read more about our backgrounds so that you know that we have the skills and abilities to teach these classes for you. And then the last couple of things are the brochure, the Tsunami information brochure. And I'll get into that a little bit more. Even though it's Humboldt County, who's ever been to Eureka? Who's been to other coasts? Well, you need to know about tsunami, so I'm going to go through that a little more thoroughly. The Shaky Ground booklet, we'll refer to that today too. That's written best questions about earthquake, tsunami, and there's even a little volcanic activity in this booklet. So you may indeed be affected by Shasta at some point, should we have an event. And then one of the last things there is the information about where to find hazard maps on the Siskiyou County website. There's a page with the URL and the list of maps that you can see for your area. So I wanted you to be sure and have that too. Everybody got all that? Great. We're a little paper heavy here, so I gave you a folder to put it all in, and hopefully you'll be able to keep all of your handouts together.
What are the letters T1, T2, T3, 4?
Team 1, Team 2, Team 3. So if we have enough people, we'll figure it out. I like to do that ahead of time so that when we break into our work groups, we'll have our teams already assigned. And not necessarily the same person that you always work with, which is more fun, isn't it? You get to meet somebody new. So we're going to set the stage here, and the pictures that you can see are the types of emergencies: the medical emergency, the flooding, natural hazards, things you may have already experienced. So our objectives tonight, or today, I should say, during the day, are to identify our roles and responsibilities, describe the hazards, get some practical and personal organizational preparedness ideas, and the actions we're going to take, and describing our function for CERT, for Community Emergency Response Team Training. So what are our priorities? We want to lessen the impact of disasters, don't we? We want to talk about the roles and responsibilities. So in your book, I'm going to jump around just a little bit. So if you want to mark pages, you can. But on 1-3, introduction, and these are things that I'll call attention to. Page 1-9, impact on infrastructure. 1-13, home and workplace preparedness. I'll be pulling those out. I move around a little bit so that we can cover everything, but not just read it to you, basically. So these are the pages that I'm going to be referring to. And if you have questions, I'll leave this up as well so I can give you more in-depth information. So, talking about lessening impacts in the community, it's going to be important that all of the community members know the steps to take. And you are a group of folks that are starting this process as a team. Everybody works with schools, with work, with community organizations, and you've done barbecues, you've done responses for weather events, all those kinds of things. This time, we're going to work together as a team to set it up so that we have an efficient response. We use our equipment efficiently and also don't duplicate efforts. And work together so that nobody gets burned out either. We've all got the same skill level, so we can substitute for one another in those instances, right? And by the end of your training, you should all be able to open an airway, stop bleeding, set up a medical treatment area, know how the system works, know who to call, know how to protect yourself and take care of yourself, where to get the information that you need to do the job that you've been on, and so on. And if you don't have that information now, great, we're going to help you find it because of our community networking that we're going to be doing in this room. We want to talk about unique attributes of this community, some of the resources that you do have, some of the problems that you have, things that might happen, things that you're aware of that maybe others are not. So why not share that information so that we're all on board and can do the activity and engage our whole community when something does happen. We want to look at our emergency plans. David might be able to help us out a little bit when we get to that point. But we know that our emergency responders are overloaded. Doreen just left. She's been on call for 3 days straight and has been doing some transports. She was planning to take the class, but she said, I think I'll probably fall right asleep on the desk if I sit down for very long. And so we know that we need additional people who can help with that EMS capability, don't we? That's always something where they need volunteers signing in. We also need services that protect and assist citizens. So as your neighborhood watch group, that's something else that you can do to be the eyes and ears of the community, which you are already doing, obviously. You've got an emergency operations plan at the county level. Do you have one for your community as well? Anybody aware of one? Okay. And how many of you have actually gotten online and read the community or the operations plan for the county? Well, I'm not surprised. I used to write those plans and have them placed online, but you know, it's there if you want that detailed information. It is definitely there. What does it say it's there? Well, on this. Okay. Yep. I mean, like yeah. It may not be, but that's something else that you as a neighborhood watch or CERT group can make other people aware of now. It's good information, it's good resource information. Office of Emergency Services, and it's your county operations plan. Mm-hmm. The website that I've given you is for the hazard maps, pretty much. But on that same, under the county CISQ, CAUS up at the top, that URL that's up there, you can find the emergency operations plan on one of the links. So it's an excellent tool. And it's a good way to find out what does it say about what will happen for my general area if this hazard happens or that event happens. Those kinds of things. So some other things that are in the plan identify the people and how property will be protected through your law enforcement, but also as well as the fire department and so on. It identifies the government resources, not necessarily always the local resources that are available. Sometimes it does, but the special districts, the water treatment plant, some of the communications lifelines, where hospitals or clinics are located, those kinds of things might be in that plan as well. And those are good information for you as a community to see what you need to do to beef up those resources or to assist by volunteering to keep those in force, definitely. So what you're doing right now as community leaders is helping us prepare our community, aren't you? Just by being here today tells me that you have an interest level that's important to be able to offer assistance to your community in some way. It's not that you have to be everything to everybody, but that you're willing to do your part. And that's really all that's necessary. Because we've got, only 22 people, I think, that are here. That's great. That's wonderful because you've got each other to rely upon, but you also got the collective knowledge to use in doing that. So some of the things that you might want to consider, and this is something you could watch, and David might have a part in, is identifying the appropriate resources and integrating those into the government planning so that he's aware of them as a county representative. And you can put those forward also as things that are available for the community that others may not know about, and say we can take care of ourselves for X number of days. Here's the resource we have. You work at the store. You've got the keys to the store, right? So
Actually, I don't work there anymore.
But you know what's on the shelf and how much stuff is there. you might need medical supplies. How often the clinics help people without additional medical supplies. So you're looking at making sure that all of the folks, the staff, customers where you work or live or play, have the equipment, supplies, and things that they need to do their jobs, and also during disaster, are willing to coordinate and work together as a community to make sure that things happen for the greater good of the people. And that's something else that you'll hear me say on a frequent basis too, is we try to do the greatest good for the greatest amount of people in the safest manner possible to help ourselves, but also to work as safe teams. So, not many of you are first responders for a job. Is there anybody who does only firefighting, only EMS? Okay. So, what I'm looking at here is you as an individual are a good Samaritan, basically. And as a disaster service worker for the county of Siskiyou, you're now covered because you've taken the oath of office. Are they going to be getting IDs? We talked about that a little bit.
Hopefully, if Juan shows up with the camera, and we get the photographs done, so we put them on.
That would
And
be
long-term
nice.
plan is to get you guys identification cards.
That would be great. And then that can be part of your team setup too, and identification. But as a baseline, you are a good Samaritan, covered by Good Samaritan law from 1997, that says that if you react to the level of your training, which is basic here, that you are covered under Good Samaritan law, unless you are working for an agency that makes you a disaster service worker, which you might be called up to do. But in your neighborhood, on a day-to-day basis, walking down the street, you're a Good Samaritan. So what you want to do is to be sure that not to step out of the bounds of your training. No open heart surgery. No firefighting without turnouts. No major event type response. You're just going to be doing the basics. And calling the professional responders if they're available, or letting other people know about the hazard, so that if something does happen, they don't go into harm's way. You know where the fire is. You know where the road is out. You know the water treatment plant's down. You're informing people. Information is good because then other people know, and eventually the problem gets resolved because enough people know and resources are brought into care.
I have one now.
Okay.
Going in Indian Creek below Titus Hill right now, which is vegetation, you don't know what's causing it.
Okay, that's a good one. Something's on. So below Indian Creek.
Below Titus Hill.
Below
Below Town Hall in Indian Creek. Probably shouldn't swim right now in water.
Okay, good to know. Now, how could you let the whole community know that? Do you post it somewhere? Do you have
We have kiosks, we have boards.
But are the tourists going through, are they paying any attention to that?
I would have told the forestry yesterday. We just noticed it in the last couple of days, like right out there by the house.
Yeah, good to know, because that's an unusual event, right? Okay. Good to know. So, as a member of the public, your responsibility, of course, is to know about alerts and warnings and evacuation routes and all of that kind of thing. So if there were a hazardous material spill on the highway on 96 going through, you'd want that phone tree working as fast as possible so that anybody downwind of that would be aware of it immediately if they're not already. And also figure out where people could shelter or they can shelter in place. We'll talk about that a little bit too. But the phone tree, the public information, the grapevine, it's a wonderful thing. It's one of the best things there is about a small community. Did you hear? Did you know? Perfect. That's the great way to do it. But there also can be lifelines set up with phone trees to make it simpler and to make it faster. Then you have a duplication of effort, you know, everybody's covered and everything gets taken care of. And you don't have to worry so much about whether so-and-so has been left out of the loop because you couldn't get a hold of them. So those are all a lot of the reasons why we do the training, obviously. Our responsibility is to get trained, have that information. We report any suspicious is the word, activity, give feedback, volunteer for things. Everybody volunteers for something here. I just know at school or at work or the hospital or whatever organization you're in. That's just how things get done. And today you're taking training to make that happen, right? So, one of our goals is for citizen court to make our community safer, more prepared, more resilient. That's the whole purpose of our training for this. There is a citizen court council. In Humboldt County, I can speak to that, but if you're prepared to speak about how citizen court council is set up for Siskiyou County.
You don't have one as far as I know.
Okay. So your director of emergency services, I believe, is the sheriff. And so citizen court councils generally are those groups of individuals that meet and have a responsibility. It might be a law enforcement member, a fire department member, a medical team member, and a couple of members of the general public who have a need to know, maybe from planning commission, a mayor, or something like that. They get together and talk about bringing the communities together in times of disaster, giving information, but also helping give direction to the officials who will respond to that disaster. And they also are readers of the emergency plans. In the county I work with the most, Humboldt County, our citizen court council, as it turned out, we started listing people that should be on the citizen court council. It turned out it was the members of the VOAD organization, the Volunteer Organizations Active in Disaster, because those representatives are from the law enforcement, fire department, EMS, community organizations like Salvation Army, Red Cross, the community, Fortuna Community Center, and so on. And so we just say, we are now having a VOAD meeting of all the organizations. Now we're stopping, and now we become citizen court council. And we present our CERT trained team members to the citizen court council and say, we now have another resource for you in this county, which allows you to beef up the level of response so that when we go out into our neighborhoods after an earthquake, for instance, wouldn't it be wonderful if every neighborhood, I've got 4 neighborhoods here, all of you are teams, CERT trained teams. You've done your damage assessment. You know how many people are injured. You know what you're going to need in the way of resources. You walk to the end of the street because you're the team leader, and when the fire truck comes down or the public works guy with the radio comes down the street, you say, we have 2 injured, 1 house off the foundation, the utilities are shut off. I've got extra water because we all have our disaster supplies, so we're good for a day. And that person says, oh, well, thank you very much. Next, this team leader says, we've got 5 injured, 1 seriously, we need transport. I have enough supplies to take care of the rest of the folks, and we're ready to go. Any help? You need help anywhere else? Well, I don't know. I'll check. Thank you very much. Next. That's a lot easier than, how many injuries do you have? What's it like at your house? How many injuries do you have? What's it like at your house? Do you have enough water to get on? Do you need any medical help? Can you come and help me at the shelter? See how much longer that takes? So the whole idea here is that you become a resource and that we know and have mapped and can contact you at the time something happens so that we have the ability to put you to work, but even more importantly, you have immediate ability to care for yourselves in that first 15, 20 minutes. That gives you the opportunity to do life-saving. How long does it take for somebody to bleed out? Less than 5 minutes, generally. How long does it take for someone to asphyxiate because their head is down? All you need to do is open that airway and give them a chance. You can certainly do that. So, talking about emergency planning, you become a resource in the emergency plan for your Happy Camp general community. And that's a wonderful thing. So you also, did I just go backwards? I think I did. Oh, it wants to go backwards. So let's watch just a little bit of movie here about certain action. And I have to warn you, it's a slightly hokey movie because it's, of course, an example. So the sample that we're going to use today for this is the storm. But what we're trying to walk you through is the activities and the things that you might do as a team in your neighborhood. And so we're looking at a family who is CERT trained and how they come together with their neighbors. Then they have to go to the community center and how they set up things to help the larger community. So I think this will show, let's see if it'll go. There we go. Let's see if I can make it.
Members are susceptible to many types of disasters. Some, such as floods, earthquakes, tornadoes, and hurricanes, are natural, while others, such as nuclear power plant disasters and hazardous materials emergencies, are man-made. Some parts of the country will experience disasters that others will never see, like mudslides, winter storms, and volcanoes, while others, like flooding or windstorms, can strike most anywhere. When disaster strikes, emergency services personnel will respond immediately. We count on their training and equipment to handle these situations. However, depending on the impact, emergency responders may not be able to quickly get to everyone who needs help. That's where community emergency response teams come in. CERTs are trained to search for and rescue people who might be trapped, to provide basic medical assistance, to put out small fires, and to handle other small incidents before more injuries or damage occur. By using the skills and knowledge they learned in training, CERT members in a neighborhood, workplace, school, or other location can work as a team to help themselves and others until professional help arrives. That's what CERT is all about, making a difference when it is needed the most. We call it doing the greatest good for the greatest number.
Okay. Wow. How's the storm, huh?
Oh, I'm scared too.
Yeah, she was. Honey, did you check the lights?
Yeah. Nothing.
How's everybody doing?
I know, honey. It's gonna be all right.
Okay.
Okay.
If the winds have died down, I'm gonna check the house out. Make sure everything's okay. I'm not gonna get most of the stuff. You guys know where your goat kids are? All right. We're gonna get those. We're gonna meet out front. Okay?
Hi, Daddy.
Hey, sweetie. A lot of shingles are down, a lot of big tree limbs, but other than that, I think we were lucky. House looks okay, it looks safe. Obviously, the power's out, and I checked the phones, the dial phone's out too, so wires are down somewhat. Got your stuff?
Yeah, I've got it. I've got 3 bars. I'll call my sister.
Why do you call me Kathy?
Because she's our out-of-state contact. So anytime anything happens here, we call her to let her know we're okay. And anytime anything happens there, she calls us.
Okay, makes sense.
Well, the house is safe, so we can go back in, okay? I'm gonna get my CERT key and meet the rest of the team. Hey, listen, I don't know where those wires are down. I want you guys to stay inside. I want to know you're hurt.
Okay,
Hey, Joe.
Oh, hey, Clark, how are you?
All right, good. How's everybody at your place?
We're all right. Shaking up a little bit. It's a mess,
Yeah.
but we're okay. We're lucky. Are you okay?
Yeah, we're all right, but I noticed coming over, Peterson's at 1422 and the Parchment's at 1424. Their places got hit by a falling tree. Peterson's roof was damaged, and the Parchment's deck is just totally crushed.
Wow. Everybody okay? Everybody out of there?
Yeah, Rita's pretty shook up, but she's not hurt.
I bet we'll find more. Let's go over to the
Yeah, let's
place,
go.
huh? Yeah. I don't think this area got hit like we did.
Well, it doesn't look like it. I think it looks pretty good.
Hey, Bob. Hey, Joe. Hey, Mark. How are you? I'm doing great. How about you guys? Our family's fine. I was okay. Yeah, ours too. How about you? Oh, we lost some shingles. Yeah, the trash can probably hit you. You know what? Come over here. There's a gas station on Wallace. The roof that's over the gas pumps. Roll down on the road. All mangled and twisted up. Pretty bad. So, I don't think people ever No, nobody's hurt. The manager put tropical cones out around the roof that's on Wallace Road, so people can see it.
Everybody, hey, I'm surprised this place even still stand there.
Yeah, sorry.
Listen, sorry I'm late. I passed a minor car crash down the street.
Anybody hurt there?
Drivers, passengers, and find no pedestrians involved. So, who's in charge here? Got here first?
Joe and I got here first. Joe, you've had much more CERT experience than I have. I just finished training. Why don't you take the lead? I can hear. This wind is pretty rough, isn't it? Wow. Anyway, hey guys, how you guys doing? I'm just donning a leadership strike here. So my suggestion is we keep this as the command post. It's structurally sound. It's a roof in case the rains come back. It's centrally located in the neighborhood. All right with that? What you think? All right, we're just getting to talk about what everybody's seen. So Mary Lou saw a car crash.
Right, a car and a pickup truck, actually, at Ford in Berkeley. Just bumps and bruises, really. Everybody's okay. They're not blocking traffic. When I left, they were exchanging information, seemed pretty calm.
Okay, good. And what else, Bob? You saw the twisted roof of the gas station. Yeah, that's at Walton 13. Seems to be all under control, and traffic can get around the roof. Okay. Anything else? Enough for me. Okay.
We had that leaking propane grill that we saw, and there was some down power lines.
Right.
And we ought to really go back and check Parchman's gas lines.
So
Here's the detail.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, everybody.
Hey,
Hey, did you see the damage down at the community center?
No.
A tree fell on it. Looks like some limbs went through the roof and a big window. There are people there saying in the evening, so I wouldn't be surprised if there are others.
I think the priority has to be the community center. Vivian, you take Bob and Mary Lou down there. You'll be in charge. All right, I think you're right about the gas lines at 1424 Windsor, too. Barb, you and Wayne head over there on the way to the community center, all right? Wayne, take the lead there. All right. Give your information back in 20 minutes?
Absolutely.
All right, sweet. Don't forget, write down everything you do and everything you say. So we get a good status report to the professional. All right, thanks, everybody.
Wow, what a mess. All right, let's take a look at the exterior first. Mary Lou, Bob, I want you to go to the right. Wayne, Barbara, I want you to go to the left. I'll stay here. Let me know what you see. And get with your buddies and meet back here in 5 minutes. Everything clear?
Okay.
Okay, excellent.
Look at that tree. It's on the roof. Windows on the
Wait. There's people there. There's people. There's people there.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
All right, we need to get that. Uh-oh, there's some smoke in here.
Wow. Get that in work.
Hey, all right. What'd y'all see? It is a mess back there. You saw that big tree? It's up against the building, and there's a big broken window. You could hear people inside that calling for help, but I couldn't tell you how many. Okay, all right, thanks. What about y'all?
Free also, but through a window back there, we saw a lot of smoke.
Okay, sounds like we really need to go away. I want you to stay in your pairs, and I want you to use all caution. Use a right-hand search pattern. I want you all to use a left-hand search pattern. I'll stay up here and set up a triage area and just track what everybody's doing. Everybody okay with that plan? All right, good luck.
Let them know we're here.
Here they are to response team. If you can hear me, come to the sound of my voice.
Hi, I'm Walter. This is Becky. We saw you over here. Can we help?
Yeah, my name is Vivian, and I'm from this neighborhood's community emergency response team. We've been trained by the fire department to help out when, the professionals haven't arrived yet. Either one of you have any medical experience?
Sure, I worked there for the AMP in college.
Okay, what about you?
Putting Band-Aids on my 3-year-old grandson, but that's about it. Sorry.
Okay, we can use all the help we can get. Do you live nearby?
Right over here.
Okay, do you have any blankets you can spare?
Sure do.
All right, why don't you run home and grab them, and then just come on back here and you can help with the minor injuries.
Okay.
All right, thanks. Okay, Becky, so we're going to go ahead and set up a triage area. We're going to put the minor injuries here. The more serious ones, we're gonna put here. The ones that need immediate attention, we're gonna put right here, so that the EMS has immediate access to them. Do you have any questions? No questions, I got it. Okay, thanks.
Ferdinand, trying to put the fire out on the storm hit. You walk with me?
Are you in charge? Yes, hi, how are you?
I'm in a lot of pain. I think I hurt my arm and shoulder. Can you help me?
Yes, I can. My name is Vivian. I'm part of the Community Emergency Response Team, and what I'd like to do is I'd like to put this piece of tape on you. Just identifies your injuries and the severity of them.
Sure.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. Hey, Becky, why don't you come on over here and help me? She's hurt her arm. Why don't you take her over to the delayed section and check her out?
I know you're watching. The storm is over. When the storm is over. Oh. I know you're not. I know you're not.
How are you doing?
Okay, going in.
Go in.
Okay, I take the fire down. Back it up.
Back me out. Give it a second. Make sure it's over now.
Let's go again.
Let's get this guy here to water. I could have just the airway. Get some breast bombs there, though. Check the perfusion. All right. Little slow perfusion. Sir, can you squeeze my hand? Sir, you can't follow simple commands. He's an idiot. All right, right here. We'll be there in a moment. You know what happened?
We came from nowhere. Let's risk.
All right. So what's your name? I'm Murphy. Please. It hurts. We're gonna make a delay, all right? All right, who's next to me, sir?
I'm doing it. It's pretty bad. Yeah, I just scratched a bruise and shook up. Okay, take care of him. Yeah.
All right, right now.
Okay.
All right. Is there any injuries? Your head? Oh, your head looks pretty bad. And that was like a trap in there. Because if you're bleeding on the lower leg, it'll make it immediate. You know right here?
Hey guys, how can we help?
Just in time. Listen, we have two people here that we need to move out immediately. This man, we're gonna need a blanket or a stretcher, if you can go out and try to find something, and then we'll take this boy out on that chair. And while you're on there, please report to Vivian how many injuries we have. This man is delayed, and then this woman just says minor injuries. In fact, if you could take these two folks out with you, that would be helpful.
You got it.
I'm just gonna put this right here on your shoulder, and I'm gonna give you some water. If thirsty. Yeah. All right, what do you have here? A minor? Okay, why don't you go ahead and set her up either against the wall or on the ground? What do we have here?
Urban here has a left arm injury. He's delayed.
Okay, I want you to set him up right over here, or either on the ground or against the wall.
We've got two more immediates inside. I've got a blanket.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and take Wayne back in there and go ahead and left. All right, thank you.
Right, go back to the blanket. Why don't you take control of the head and take the answers?
Focus has been blanked down. Bob, if you would get his arms. Pretty good blanket. 1, 2, 3.
No further injuries on the back.
Okay, my count. 1, 2, 3. Nice. All right, I'm gonna come around. Okay, you're on the body. Everybody got a good grip? Okay, are we ready to lift? 1, 2, 3. Let's take them out feet first.
Put it right down here.
All right, right over here. Pull my count down on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Great. All right, anything else left inside?
Yeah, we got one more inside. Bob will report. Barb and I are gonna go ahead.
We came across him, he was unresponsive, we adjusted his airway, started breathing a lot better. He had obviously serious head wounds, but he's going into shock, we believe his perfusion was kind of weak, so we're looking at top position.
Okay, excellent. All right, I'll go ahead and do an assessment myself.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and check you, just to see if you have any further injuries. Just checking to see if you're bleeding anywhere else.
Nice job. Good job, buddy.
Yeah.
Let's get those hands in your lap.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna tilt you back.
Okay.
Barb, you ready for the lean? All right, tilt them back. 1, 2, 3. Lift on 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. 1, 2, 3, down. So 1, 2, 3, forward. Nice. Okay. Will, we're going to put you on this blanket right over here on your left. Ready for that? Yeah. All right, Barbara and I are going to grab you. We're going to get the grip on you. We'll tell you when we're ready to go. Okay. 1, 2, 3.
What do we have here, Randy?
Will here, we can get him out here immediately, and he's got a head injury. He's got a little bit of glass in his head right there, and he's got a left leg injury.
Okay, thanks.
Building's clear. We're going to go ahead and start helping these guys work on these guys right here.
Will, I'm just gonna check you out here.
Okay.
I'm gonna put my hands on your head, and I'm just checking for other injuries.
We need to deliver some reports to command post. What do you have for me? Okay, we went through the entire community center. Bob and I found one room with heavy damage to the ceiling. Didn't even look safe to go in there. And there's one room that's locked. We tried it, we called, we didn't get any answer, but we were not able to go inside. Okay, Wayne, what do you have?
Barb and I went to 1424 Windsor. Bad storm damage. We shut the gas off. Here's my documentation.
Why don't you go ahead and give it to Mary Lou? Here's the report for the 8 triage victims, and this is a current report. Okay. Why don't you go ahead and head up there, and then just come on back when you finished your report. Alrighty, I will. Is there anything we need? Nope, that's it. I'll see you guys as soon as I can. Wayne, why don't you go ahead and mark the building as searched, and we'll go ahead and continue to attend to the victims.
We'll do.
All right.
Mark it right here.
Thanks.
Thanks, Rachel. Thanks for checking in. Okay, I got it. Hi, Mary Lou.
Hi.
Well, how's it going there?
We have one room with heavy damage in the ceiling. We can't even enter there.
Right.
And we do have one room that's locked to get inside. 8 victims in our triage area, 2 immediates, and then 3 delayed and 3 minor.
All right.
Barbara and Wayne turned off the gas at one house. I've got the addresses for the 2 places they checked, some information for you. Okay, and I'm gonna, here's my stuff, and I'm gonna take that guy to the community center.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Mary Lou. I'm going to call in those 2 immediates right now.
I'll turn that down there.
Oh, hey, Aaron.
Joe.
I'm Joe, I'm the CERT leader here. I'm going to give you the report, okay? We've got incidental damage around the community, but we've been really focused on the community center. We've searched it all except for 2 rooms that are accessible to us. One has ceiling damage, and the other one's locked. We can't get in. We got 8 victims in triage. 2 immediates I've already called in, but we've also got 3 delayed and 3 minors. I'll take care of that now. I got these forms for you.
Are there any patients in the 2 accessible rooms?
We don't know.
Okay.
But you guys are here.
Community emergency response team members are trained to help themselves and others after a disaster. Until professional help arrives, CERTs work together, providing basic medical assistance, putting out small fires, searching for and rescuing people who were trapped, acting as the eyes and ears for professional responders. By doing the greatest good for the greatest number, they make a difference when it is needed the most.
So wouldn't it be nice if all disasters went that smoothly? Would be great, wouldn't it? I would love it if all the neighborhood teams came together and could do the activities that way. It would be wonderful. We don't really necessarily need to watch the activities. So what kind of disasters befall us here at Happy Camp?
Wildfire.
Wildland fires,
Flooding.
floods,
Snowstorms.
snowstorms, power outages. Maybe we're going into a drought too. I keep hearing about that. God, that makes the wildland fire possibility even higher. It makes difficulty because of needing to bring in potable water for those areas that aren't getting well water properly or whatever. So, what about earthquakes, tsunami? Have you even thought about where you travel, where you go? You need to have knowledge about those hazards as well, do you not? You may not be feeling earthquakes here, but you may be affected because your lifelines for supplies may be cut off over to the east or from the west. If there are earthquakes in those locations, your transportation lifelines may be affected. Maybe resources may be redirected to more critical needs than what you have here. So you've already survived hard winters here. You know that you better have your wood supply up and have some extra food on the shelf and that kind of thing. So you're actually better off than a lot of folks living in Eureka who are counting on going to Costco tomorrow. not happening for Happy Camp, is it? So, yes. Yeah, no, it's good. Whoops, let me get past. So, truly. So there's lots of different kinds of disasters. We have to categorize them so that we can plan for them and allocate resources for them. So we talk about natural disasters, technological, which can be the transportation lifelines, electrical, power, gas lines, and so on. And then intentional is covered by the terrorism activities, things that people do intentionally to disrupt our lives and to cause havoc. And actually, the ultimate goal is fear that happens. So the key disaster elements, what we call a disaster, is anything out of the ordinary that upsets me and I don't get to do what I want to do today. So it's unexpected. It means that you may not have the ability to do your normal day-to-day. You're overwhelmed, and then that impacts everything else. And it means that maybe life is endangered or environment is endangered. Maybe we have an example already. Who knows? Could just be, a methane gas pocket under there came up and killed fish. Yeah. Could be that too. Somebody's jumping in the creek. We don't want it, we don't know, and we don't want to. For California, the identified hazards are the ones that we hear the most about: the earthquake, tsunami, wildland fire, floods, winter storm, power outages that affect large parts of the state, and so on. So those are the things that are addressed 90% of the time. Are there any others in this local area that we need to be aware of?
Slides are an issue with our roads, so that, and you mentioned the volcanoes. They said, when I was going to COS about 10 years ago, that there's a 1 in 3 chance that it could erupt in our lifetime. So there's always a
Well, we'll get into some things in a second, but your volcanic activity can be impacted by earthquake activity, depending on where that is, because with the Cascadia subduction zone coming under the North American plate, it directly can affect the volcano and so on, depending on how much of that breaks at the time.
And that was a lot of
Yes, very well could happen, definitely.
The ash cloud creates a whole new list of problems.
Indeed it does. You can have lahars, which is the flow of the ash mixed with water and the snow and so on. You can have volcanic activity, probably not all the way over to Happy Camp, but there again, your resources are cut off, your lifelines. Your sheriff's office is in Wairika. So, and then the outlying area. Fortunately, David lives over the hill, and he's your main resource for that. How does that feel, Dave? No pressure.
Well, we got Josh tired out here, and we got Gabe good.
Good. Well, I want to teach you about some different types of activities. So, has everybody been over to the coast at least once? Do you travel to Mexico? Do you go on vacation places where you might go to the coastline? Well, if you do, this information does not have to be different for any other. Let me restate that. This information is good anywhere you go. So if you're on a coast, you're in Indonesia, you're in Mexico, you're in the Gulf of Mexico, you're in Europe, you indeed may be affected by tsunami, depending on where it's originating and the time of travel for the tsunami waves and so on. So the important messages for us on the California coast, if you should go over to Eureka or anywhere along the coast, or in Washington, British Columbia, all the way up to Alaska, if you feel an earthquake, drop down, cover up, and hold on, because we want you to be protected. Get under your desk. I've got my table here, got my supplies, because we want you to be safe. We want you to survive the event. It's only a few seconds. So anything that might fall, you can protect yourself and you can stay conscious. Otherwise, you become part of the response for injured victims, don't you? And then if you are on the coastline, knowing where your hazard zone is. So one of the important things, and I'll pull this map right here. If you'll open this map, the brochure, you'll see most of the coast of Humboldt County, which is if you're coming over 299 or coming down 96 to 299 or going over to the southern Oregon coast as well. This is the hazard zone in yellow that shows the areas that might likely be affected based on the information that we have from our geologists and from past history that will give you the information you need to stay safe. And it's very likely that these are the same areas that flood in winter. It's the low-lying areas along the coast. So if you've ever been over there in flood season, the late 90s or even the mid-2000s, a couple of years ago, we had a near flood event. Those are the very same areas along the coastline that will be inundated if there should be a flood. So tsunami run-up also will flow into those same low-lying areas, only more so. And depending on whether it's high tide, whether it's a flood event already, which raises the high tide or the water table, will increase the level of inflow. So this little brochure, tuck this in the glove box of your vehicle. This will save your life. If you hear about a tsunami event, you definitely want to know where the hazard zone is. When you are on the coast and you feel an earthquake, that's your warning right there. Don't try and listen to the radio. Don't call and ask your neighbor or ask somebody on the street. Get away from the coast, go inland, go high, go fast, away from the hazard zone. And then there's your information. And most generally, it's along the 101 corridor. And the lowest lying areas, you wouldn't go down into the slough, would you? So you're going to want to go high. It doesn't really take much along the coastline on Humboldt anyway to get out of the hazard area. So the areas that are in the yellow are those that might be inundated. Those in the white are safe. And this is a worst-case scenario. We're talking about a magnitude 9 earthquake on the Cascadian subduction zone. The whole thing cuts loose, which is the full 1,000 kilometers, about 600 miles, all the way from the southern part of Humboldt all the way through to British Columbia. And so this is based on the earthquake coring that they've done, the geologists have done, finding sand deposits all the way through our coastline. And we updated it to make sure that we are as hard as possible. So don't wait. Respond to the natural warning, or if it's a distant tsunami, there'll be sirens. We have Civil Air Patrol flying over, announcing it along the coast. All of the emergency alert system broadcasts are available on radio and TV, and of course, anybody who lives there will be saying, don't go there, you're in the tsunami hazard zone. Move up here to the high ground. So you will have a way of knowing that if there's enough time, 2 to 4 hours, typically with an earthquake in Alaska, for a distant tsunami to reach us. So our learning objectives here are talking about not only tsunami and earthquake, but how you can use those events to begin that process of mitigating hazards, meaning with earthquake, that you're going to bolt and brace and put things on lower shelves if they're over your head and you're sleeping with something heavy over your head that might hurt you when you're unaware. Or your favorite reading chair. You've got the bookcase right there, but it's not bolted to the wall. Those kinds of things. If you have to worry about those things here, if you've ever felt an earthquake, think about bolting, bracing. I have all the stuff in my house done because I have had the experience of stuff toppling, all of the kitchen shelves opening up, the cabinet doors, everything's on the floor, and I have to go to work in this house. So I wanted to prevent that if at all possible, ever again. But the things that you do now can help reduce your anxiety. They can help save lives. They can make your life a heck of a lot more comfortable than having to go home to that mess and clean it up. So it's a whole lot easier. And the same things reduce anxiety, and that means that you've done as much as you can do to take care of yourself, you can sleep well at night, and then you can help other people to do the same thing as well. And it makes a huge difference in your recovery and being able to do that later. So, Northern California's earthquakes. What was the largest one? Anybody know? Want to guess? Pardon? Oakland, which was Loma Prieta, San Francisco, 1989.
we had a 6.7 in Kalita, but that's not long.
Not as loud. Anybody else want to guess? Large earthquake? I've got 4 of them. Oh, that's the one in Kansas City. Top 4, 1964. Yeah, okay. Well, the number 4 earthquake was actually the Gordon Plate one in 2005. That's number 4 on our hit list here. That one was offshore Eureka, a 7.2. And I was getting ready to go on vacation, June 15th. And I was standing there packing my suitcase, and I felt the earthquake, and I was going like this. And I thought, oh, shoot, an earthquake. And I thought, well, it's just rocking and rolling a little bit. It'll quit. And then I thought, oh, yeah, I should be counting. I should be counting. Earthquake 1. Of course, I'm already 5 seconds into it. I counted to earthquake 15, 16, 17. When you hear or see or feel an earthquake that lasts longer than 20 seconds, if you count up to earthquake 20, it's a big one somewhere. And if you're just feeling it as a gentle rock and roll, guess what? It's probably offshore, and it's a large earthquake out there. So what's the potential if it's a big earthquake out in the ocean? Tsunami. Absolutely. So my packing halted, went to work. I was at Red Cross at that time. We managed well-being inquiries for a couple of hours. Emergency services opened their doors at the Emergency Operations Center. Unfortunately, no tsunami was generated, but we did have a little bit of high tide, that next incoming tide, within 6 hours. And it was an earthquake offshore, about 100 miles. But it was a very long-lasting one. So it had the potential for causing great harm along the coast because of its size. So the next one was actually the 1992 series in April. It was April 25th, and I happened to be working for the Office of Emergency Services at that time. And I was planning a barbecue that Saturday morning. Had been out to the grocery to pick up my mustard, ketchup, and guess what was sitting on the counter? And guess what danced off the counter and went on the floor? I did not have time to clean it all up, so I grabbed the cat, put her in the utility room, and went to work. Came home 30 hours later, and she was really mad at me because all she had was the food from the first day. The litter box was full, and so on and so on. But I didn't have an injured cat, so I was happy about that. But that earthquake was the first one at 11:05, I believe it was, on Saturday morning, the 25th. We had another one just after midnight, about a 6.7, and a 6.5 at 4 a.m. And being underneath the courthouse in the Emergency Operations Center was not a fun thing during those earthquakes. So I remember those very vividly, but I also remember that I did not have latches on my kitchen cabinets, the mess in the floor from the barbecue stuff. So I have done some mitigation in my house. I have positive pressure latches on all my cabinets everywhere in the house. Haven't lost anything. I've gotten museum putty and braced all of the stuff, the glassware that's in my little china cabinet in the dining room. I haven't lost any glassware since 1992. So I'm very happy. I've done some things that have made a difference, not only for my comfort, but from the economic standpoint of no losses. So what about number 3? Triple Junction, and number 2, 1906. You got 1906?
My Sonic Road in Toledo was built from the brick from that earthquake.
That's right. That's right.
And then it fell down in 83.
Yeah.
And that was a 6.7.
Yeah. So 1906 is 7.8. So what's number 1, the top that we at least have records of? It was actually the Cascade subductions on earthquake of 1700. January 26th. How do we know that it was January 26th? The exact date. We know because that earthquake cut loose the entire Cascadia subduction zone fault, ruptured from end to end, from British Columbia to Shelter Cove. And the tsunami wave that it created went up our coastline and denuded the woods all the way up 60 feet above Urich. And it created tsunami that wiped out 16 villages in Japan. So Japan in 1700 had excellent written records already. And the prefectures of Japan noted those events, that those villages were wiped off in the evening with what they called an orphan tsunami, meaning that there was no earthquake in addition to the tsunami coming in. They did not feel any earthquake, had no warning whatsoever. In the day, they had no buoys offshore, did they, in 1700? So those poor people had no warning whatsoever of an orphan tsunami coming at them in the middle of the night. They had no visual that they could see. So 16 or so villages were wiped off the coastline of Japan. And the after effects of that, knowing that that happened in Japan, was found because the scientists here along our coast, Oregon, Washington, California, were doing core samples along the coast to try and determine how far inland some of those earlier earthquakes had gone. And they found core samples that showed the 1960 Chilean, the 1964 tsunami caused by the Alaskan earthquake, a little bit of peat moss and so on from road building in the 50s, and then they found about a foot of tsunami sand that they carbon dated to around somewhere between 1650 and 1720. So those are the years, the dates that they used for searching records in Japan, because they knew that anything that large would have affected the Japanese coast. It took quite a few years. Brian Atwater and some others from the University of Washington did that research and found that. Then we were able to extrapolate and build computer models about how big it would have been to create all those effects over there. And that's where they came up with that magnitude 9, which so far is about the largest earthquake that's occurred on the Cascade subduction zone. And that is the model that we use for what we're working on now for our planning effort. And so a magnitude 9 earthquake is the greatest one that we expect to have happen because that one did rupture the entire coastline.
I can imagine an earthquake that's 2,000 times stronger than the
And it will last many minutes, up to 5 minutes of that intense shaking. So don't even try to run. Don't try to get in a doorway. Drop cover and hold on, and you will feel it here. I can almost guarantee you. Definitely. So that's pretty shocking when you think about it, that we have that kind of potential here. And that earthquake has been modeled by the Sunda Trench earthquake in Thailand, Indian Ocean, in 2004, the day after Christmas. I was sitting in church with my family and having just come from all this training that we did on Cascadia. And the minister said, let's pray for those people who've been affected by the great earthquake and the tsunami. I go, where? And the whole congregation's looking at me like, what are you? And I said, was it California? And he said, no, Indian Ocean. I go, okay, let's pray. Anyway, that's one of those things that you don't want to hear about, but you need to be aware of it. And the way that you find out is that some of these things are mapped, and yet some of them are not mapped because we haven't had an experience yet on that area. The ones that are mapped, like the San Andreas, we do know about. But this one is out in Death Valley, the one on the right, that was not known until there was an actual event. And it was spotted from the air because you could see the offset. Now, do you think that they'd have built that power tower right on the San Andreas fault if they had known? That was put before the event, obviously. So now that we know, they're not replacing that one on that fault line, are they? But they do occur on faults. And a fault is the plate motion. The San Andreas is part of the fault system. Let me see if I can find my clicker here. So we've got the San Andreas. Can you see this? Coming along from Southern California, all the way up here to the Mendocino Triple Junction, which ends right off our coast at Shelter Cove. And then the Cascadia subduction zone picks up off the coast, right from Shelter Cove, all the way up to British Columbia. And where's Humboldt County? Oops, right there in the middle of all of it. That's what we call the Triple Junction, which is where Mendocino fracture, the fault there, meets the Gorda Plate, which is pushing against the Juan de Fuca Plate, which is all subducting under the North American Plate. And so we have all of those things grinding and slipping past one another, and then the whole thing subducting under the North American plate. So if you imagine, I believe I've got another slide here, let's see. Coming up, there you go. There's all the earthquakes that have occurred in our time, in our recorded time, that have been reported by seismologists since the mid-18 and late 1800s. And most of them have occurred right offshore of Riga down to Shelter Cove. Along those same fracture zones, you can almost see Gorda Plate, right? There's the fracture zone right there. There's the Gorda Plate, and then the Juan de Fuca Plate. And then
That's a good sign. It means that it releases pressure
at that particular point, but not for the entire fracture or fault. So we've had events, 13 events in the last 7,000 years that we could document through the geologic record. We had that January 26, 1700 event, which caused a ghost forest along the coast of Washington. And then if you look at it in drawing here, here's the fracture zone, Gorda Plate, Juan de Fuca, the Cascadia subduction zone. And then if you look at it from end on using the colors, you see the Juan de Fuca is moving under the North American plate. And here's where I want you to think about it. Mount Shasta, which you're very close to, may be affected because the Gorda Plate is dipping about 18 miles deep under Mount Shasta. And that volcanic activity may start up again at some point because of that plate subducting under and causing not only earthquakes, but also some activity through the volcano. So we don't know. We just don't know. So we have to be ready for everything. I always like to say, only thing I haven't experienced is a volcano and a plague of locusts. So anything is possible at this point in time. The offshore earthquakes that we have had, two-thirds of them, if you can look at the dots, on that mid-sea fracture zone. It's the most active. But it's a strike, slip, meaning that those are moving past each other this way. And they cause earthquakes, but their size is limited because of the strike, slip. The subducting earthquakes are the ones that, if you look at my hand, if I put this down, you'll see it in an animation in a minute. If this is the shore and there's Mount Shasta, and here's the sea line, seacoast, the line of coast. And this is the plate subducting under it, and it's bending, and pushing under it. When this springs free, then that's where you get your earthquake. So many of them cause damage. The damaging earthquakes are the ones that are the deep ones, 15 miles deep, and that was the sequence for the San Andreas earthquake of 1989, as well as the 1992 earthquake in Humboldt County. And this is Ferndale. That is a picture of Main Street, Ferndale, the Valley grocery store. If you've ever been in Ferndale. And this shows the San Andreas fault coming up from Southern California to the Shelter Cove area. There's Shelter Cove right there, past it. And these are hard to see. They're small pictures, but on the scale, I can see if I can point it out. This was a picture from the 1906 earthquake where the fault ruptured. And this is the same escarpment right now, a couple of years ago, that in the Shelter Cove area. So that is still there, even after all these years. I like this because I think it's true. The past is the key to our future because we know that we have earthquakes. We know where they're located for the most part. Most of them have been mapped. There are some few small ones inland from Hayward Fault, for instance, and some of the others in Southern California, the desert. But up here, we're very much aware of where those earthquakes are and where you might be safe and where you might need to be cautious, especially if you're in a tsunami risk zone. We know that we have 160 years of record history. In fact, one of the professors, Gary Carver at HSU, his wife Deborah is a professor of linguistics and oral histories from Karuk, from the Hupa people, the Wiyot, and put them together as part of a book that she was writing. And I believe it's out of print now, which is unfortunate because it's the legends of the native peoples about the evening of January 26, 1700, and what they did when that earthquake happened on our coast. And jump dances were performed. The runners between villages to inform people found that they came from their village thinking they were the only ones affected, to find every village that they ran to was affected. All of the jump dances were done and had to be done many times before the earth settled. And she has some wonderful stories. They now live in Alaska, and she's collecting more stories even there because obviously that rupture occurred all over. Look for Deborah Carver. Yeah, C-A-R-V-E. I'd like to get a copy of it. I didn't think of it at the time, unfortunately. So what should we expect? I think we should expect to take a 5-minute break, don't you? Have some snacks. Restrooms are this way. If you'd like some heat, if you're too cold, please step outside. I can accommodate you.
Oh, yeah, the heat.